What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. And man, I'm coming through with another video just for you. So, as you can see by the title, we have arrived at another top 10 MC session, this time dedicated to the late, great, notorious B.I.G., my number four favorite MC of all time. Rest in peace to him. I mean, man, even in present day 2024, we're still in the effects of this man not being here along with Tupac. And like I've said before, the fact that Tupac and Biggie are no longer here and how their deaths just came months apart. I mean, hip hop has never been the same. Yeah, it's been a lot of great moments after their deaths, and it's damn sure been a lot of bad moments after their deaths, but hip hop is never going to be the same, and I think most of us can agree to that. But again, here we are. Like I said, another top 10 MC session. Biggie, man, this guy had a gift. This guy had such an incredible amount of talent at such a young age, almost ahead of his time. You can say that, but make no mistake about it, this guy, everything that he touched was pretty much dope for the most part. Whenever he blessed a guest appearance, he either stole the show or he came with a memorable verse. I mean, he was that guy, from 1994 to 1997. That man left a true mark on hip hop in such a incredible short amount of time. Is really stunning, to be honest with you, as I sit right here and talk about this man. But again, man, props to him. He's still a revered figure to this day in hip hop. He influenced a lot of people, you know. So, man, props to him, man. It's just a shame that he's not here along with Tupac as well as everyone else who was taken before their time. So, with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it. But for starters, if you haven't checked out my previous top 10 MC sessions, which focused on Nas, Jay-Z, and Rakim, go ahead and check those out. The Coogee rap video, I'm gonna redo that one. I know it's up on the channel right now, and that was like one of the earliest videos that I did, talking about hip hop. But I'm gonna redo that one towards the end, because he is my number 10 favorite MC of all time. So I'm going to cover that towards the end. So stay tuned for that. Okay. Now, even though Biggie was in the unsigned hype section of the Source magazine, and I'm going to come back to the Source magazine quite a few times during this video, not only did I first hear about that unsigned hype thing in the Source magazine's 100th issue, I didn't first hear Biggie until his song Party and Bullshit in 1993 on the Who's the Man soundtrack. And most of you listening to this, I'm pretty sure that was the first time you heard Biggie, or the first time that you might have heard Biggie was on the Dolly My Baby remix with Supercat and the crew. I believe it was Supercat, Puff Daddy, and Third Eye. Yeah, and Third Eye was also on that Who's the Man soundtrack. Ease up. What's it all about? Why you want to try to play Third Eye out? Y'all know what I'm talking about. So damn, I need to revisit that soundtrack too and the movie because I haven't watched the movie in such a long time, and it's always been a personal favorite. But like I said, this was my first time hearing Biggie, Party and Bullshit. I think Easy Mo B produced that, and we're going to hear a lot about Easy Mo B in this video too, so stay tuned. But yeah, Lounge in Black, I mean, Biggie was spitting, had the Grey Goose and the Goose and the Bubba Goose. Now I got the Mac in my knapsack. I mean, he was hitting it, man. So needless to say, like I said, after I first heard him, now I didn't know even at a young age that he was going to turn out and blow up the way that he did. But like I said, you know, I really like that song, and it got the soundtrack started off in such a dope way, and it was obvious looking back at that. If that song couldn't get him a deal, I don't know what was. And I believe it was either that song or the Dolly My Baby remix that got him his deal. I could be off a little bit there, if in the comments, let me know. I could be off with that one, but it's all good. So as 1993 turned into 1994, he would add the Notorious part to his name because at this point he just went back big, at least according to that soundtrack. So when 1994 got here, it was obvious that his first single was going to drop along with the debut album Ready to Die, which I'm going to talk about shortly. He also did another memorable collaboration at that point, which was the Flavor in Your Ear remix, which also featured Craig Mack, rest in peace to him. We also had Rampage, Busta Rhymes, and LL Cool J, and that was one of the more memorable posse cuts. Definitely one of the better remixes too, because longtime hip hop heads know that it's rare that a remix is better than the original, and in this case, it was. And that's not to take anything away from the original Flavor in Your Ear, because the original Flavor in Your Ear is a classic too. But it's all good. So, with all this being said, we're gonna head right into Ready to Die. Now, um, just a little bit of history on this one. Now, I first heard this in 1995, and I think my dad had a dub copy on tape, and he gave it to me. And now, when I think about it, I don't think my dad really liked Biggie all that much, because he gave me this, this dub tape, with the quickness. I don't think he felt that. And also, I'm gonna bring my dad up again when I get to the Life After Death album. But also, like I said, you know, that's when I first heard this album. I had the tape for a long time. And then I first got the CD, I want to say in 1996 or 1997. And I bought it a few times over the years. But that's when I first heard it. And even at a point when I didn't have the dub copy no more, I would borrow it from a family member. I would borrow it from a neighbor. I mean, I really like this album, as y'all going to see when I begin to talk about it. Also, it was released on September 13th, 1994. Also released on that day was Big Daddy Kane's sixth album, Daddy's Home. And talk about an unfortunate position for Big Daddy Kane. Now, spoiler alert, as y'all know, if y'all checked out my introduction, Big Daddy Kane is also in my top 10. So there's going to be a future top 10 MC session on him. But I'm going to talk about the Daddy's Home album more when I get to his session. But again, talk about being in an unfortunate position. Now, at this point, Big Daddy Kane, he was still active, but the days of 89 and let me back up. The days of 88 and 89 were long gone. And at this point, he was an afterthought in hip hop, and to put his album out on the same day as Ready to Die, that didn't do him no favors. And when I said it fell by the wayside and was what's the other thing that I normally say? It was lost in the shuffle in record time. It was, even with a classic on the album in the form of Show Improve with Sauce Money, Shaheem, Jay-Z, and ODB, rest in peace to him. Man, that was not good timing, needless to say. But again, I'll talk more about the Daddy's Home album when I get to the Big Daddy Kane session. Also, in an interesting twist, if you will, Craig Mack's Project Funk the World came out 1 week after this album, September 20th, 1994. Also, I was just starting the fifth grade at this point, showing my age, but it's all good. Now, what's also interesting is that even though Biggie dropped his debut in 94 and his debut singles and stuff like that was, heating things up on the radio and TV, Craig Mack actually preceded Biggie just a little bit, in terms of the singles. Because make no mistake about it, Flavor in Your Ear was making noise. The remix was making noise. Get Down was making noise. Also a dope remix with Q-Tip, Making Moves with Puff. All those were making noise before Ready to Die came out, and they were still making noise after Ready to Die came out going into 1995. But make no mistake about it, when Biggie hit the scene along with his debut album, I mean, all systems will go in terms of Bad Boy Records. So, so I just wanted to make those points clear before we get into the album. So, as I mentioned, Ready to Die came out September 13th, 1994. And also, just another interesting fact, this album, along with the aforementioned Craig Mack album, Project Funk the World, and Big Daddy Kane's Daddy's Home album, those turned 30 this year, along with other albums that came out in 1994. Method Man to Cal, Nas, Illmatic, Gangstar, Hard to Earn, J. Rooted Damages, Sunrises in the East. The Murder Was the Case soundtrack. I mean, a lot of things from 94 turns 40, not 40, turned 30 this year. I turned 40 this year, so I don't want to mix up the dates and stuff like that. But yeah, 30 years, man, that is unbelievable how far we have come. Because it just seems like it wasn't too long ago when we was getting this dope material in real time, So I just wanted to throw those facts out there. So we finally get into the album, and as usual, we're going to start the highlights here. And if you followed my other top 10 MC sessions, I'm going to talk about the highlights of the album as well as the lowlights of the album as well. Yeah, so I'm going to do just that. And now when I think about it, I think there's a edit that I might have to do in real time now when I think about it. So give me 1 second. I'm going to take a look at something right quick. I just thought about something literally. Give me 1 second, y'all. Because if I have to make an edit real time, I'm going to do that while I'm talking to y'all. Give me 1 second because I might have left something out. Let me see. Yep, I sure do. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do an edit in real time. I'm going to do an edit in real time. I'm not going to stop the video and start over because I gotta come back and do some things. So just bear with me, y'all. So if y'all hear some silence, I'm doing some work in here. So just bear with me. It's a good thing I caught that too. Let's see. Because I didn't want to get too deep into the video only to, realize that I left out some stuff. So just bear with me, y'all. Bear with the silence. Let's see. All right, there we go. All right. Okay. Yep, this is real time, y'all. Because I'm already into it and I did not want to stop anything, and have to come back. So just give me a few moments. And if you're still sticking around, I appreciate it. This is some real time adding right here. Bring my sticky notes up. Man, okay. Hold on. Notes list. Okay. All right. So let me go to Mozilla Firefox for a second. Bring this up. All right. Hold on. All right. There we go. Okay. So we got that part. Let me get the next one. Do a copy and paste there. Exit out of there. Right. Let's see. Okay. I'm getting there, y'all. Just bear with me. Just a few more moments, and we're gonna get back on track. And this is actually a first. This is my first time doing an actual edit in the midst of a video that I'm actually recording. Interesting. All right. See, and one of my flaws is doing way too much, y'all. Just bear with me. All right, let's see. Okay. Get that together. Okay. Real time editing right here. All right, so I got that part right. All right. All right, let's do this. Right, got that one done, and then let's get this here. All right. I think we're here. Let me take a look at one more thing. Then we will be on our way, so to speak. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So let me go ahead and export this. Yes, replace that one. All right. All right. So let me check and make sure the edits are good. No, I don't need that to come up. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. All right. All right. So, okay. So let me get that off of here. Do this. No. Right. Take the old one off. Bring the new one back up. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, man. I like I said, real time edit right there. So let's go ahead and pick up where we left off. So, like I said, Biggie's debut was released on September 13th, 1994. Also released on that day was Big Daddy Kane's sixth album, Daddy's Home. 1 week later, Craig Mack's debut, Project Funk the World, came out on the 20th. Like I said, my dad initially gave me a dub copy of this. After a while, I didn't have the dub copy anymore, so I borrowed it from a neighbor and I borrowed it from a family member. And I believe I did give those back. Normally, it would take me a while to give them back, but after a while, I did. And like I said, I would eventually get the CD for the first time in either 1996 or 1997. And throughout the years, I think I bought it two more times, you know. So the original pressing, I still do have it in my collection, you know. So all right, now after all of that, and again, if you're still sticking with this video after I had to do some real-time edits, shout out to you. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So we start with Things Done Changed, produced by Donnell Scott. Things done changed on this side. Remember they used to talk, but now they blast, right? So shout out to Dr. Dre and Snoop and Dr. Dre, Snoop, and Nate Dogg for Little Ghetto Boy from the Chronic classic from 1992, and I am going to talk about that album on my channel in due time. Just give me some time. We're going to get there. So another interesting thing about that sample is that I read in a Suge Knight interview years back that not only did he clear the samples for Biggie to use on this album, but he also didn't charge Bad Boy, and I think that was just him showing love to Bad Boy, and that had to have been before all of the tension started. But and I do need to look that article up. I think it was on hiphopdx.com. That's what Suge said. Not sure how true it is, but I do remember seeing that on the site at the time, which had to have been either 2016, 2017, maybe a little bit before. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. Give me 1 second, y'all. All right. I hope I don't get a lot of distractions when I'm trying to do this session, but okay, let's continue on. So I note here that the album gets off to a roaring start with this joint right here, as Biggie details how things had changed over the years, also detailing what he had to do to survive. And let me stop right there and say this now. For those of you who haven't checked out my previous sessions on Nas, Jay-Z, Rakim, and even Kool G Rap, the formula that I use for these sessions and the formula that I'm going to use for any hip-hop related videos I make, most of this material comes from my medium.com page, which is medium.com/WDM625, just in a more updated form, if you will. So You can always check out my work there. I'm also going to put the link to this article in the description box as well. So I just wanted to let y'all know that. So continuing on, we get to some bars here. If I wasn't in the rap game, I probably have a key knee deep in the crack game because the streets is a short stop. Either you're slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. Powerful song, powerful bars, and a 5 out of 5 song. And speaking of those bars, I remember in a documentary, Michael Eric Dyson had talked about this song and he referenced those bars specifically. And he just talked about how poignant it was and how descriptive those lines were at the time in 1994 when most black men, had to resort to this life to survive. Now, looking at it through a 2024 lens, most older cats, even myself, will probably say, then and now you had opportunities. You didn't have to resort to a life of crime or a life in the streets to get by, but it was a different time in 1994, that's for sure. And this song, like I said, a powerful one. It gets the album started off right, just like the intro did, So continuing on with the next highlight, we got the Easy Mo Beast. The Easy Mo B. Oh yeah, he was a beast behind the boards. Give Me the Loot, produced by Easy Mo B. Now let me stop for a second and give a mad shout out to Easy Mo B. Look, most of y'all listening to this know that this brother doesn't get the credit he deserves for his work behind the boards. I mean, he is definitely one of the most underrated producers in hip hop history. That man made so many classics, in this case with Biggie, as well as the second album. And he's also one of the rare producers to work with both Biggie and Tupac. Just imagine that now. But man, again, if Easy Mo B hear this, or if somebody get back to him, man, major shout out to him. That brother was behind some bangers. And I believe he also made Flavor in Your Ear. That was a banger, a classic. I mean, sheesh. I mean, that guy was behind some bangers. And this is one of them. Definitely a 5 out of 5 song. I note that the song is creative, gangster, witty, humorous. They all apply to this banger. And Biggie made no secret he would do whatever it took to get paid. And it's one of my favorites from him. Now, two points that I want to make. Number one is I remember the episode from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Will and Carlton went to Las Vegas and they was at one of the casinos. Will was at the table gambling. And I guess he hit one of the numbers or whatever. And at the end, he said, give me the loot, give me the loot. I'm a bad, bad man. I mean, that right there, yeah, that shows the impact that Biggie was having. They was incorporating his lyrics in popular sitcoms at the time. And we're going to get to that in another song as well on this Ready to Die album. Also, as I know here, it took me a long time to realize that the other quote-unquote artist on this song with Biggie was Biggie himself. And I believe Biggie was the first MC in hip-hop to switch up his vocals throughout an entire song where he had his original vocals and he had his voice altered to do, the other lines as well. And I think DMX was the second one to do that during his Damien series. And trust and believe, in due time, I'm going to make some more DMX videos on my channel as well. But yeah, I believe Biggie was the first one to do this, and he did it so well. I mean, such an incredible song, from start to finish. And I can't recall if somebody brought that to my attention, if I just put two and two together, or was revealed in an article that I read on this album, But either way, like I said, 5 out of 5 classic here. Speaking of 5 out of classics, that takes us to another one produced by Easy Mo B, Machine Gun Funk, another dope song featuring a memorable quote for the hook, courtesy of Lords of the Underground's Chief Rocker, which was already a classic at this point. Y'all know the line, I live by the funk, I die by the funk. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Go ahead and throw that on too. So again, great stuff. 5 out of 5 for this classic. Speaking of classics and 5 out of 5s, that brings us to the next Easy Mo B produced banger, this time in the form of Warning, which is my number one favorite song from Biggie. I've always said that. Damn, niggas want to stick me from my paper. I mean, classic. It's so many lines here. And I'm going to get into a few of them too, because I know this song off the top of my head, but I'm just going to focus on like the latter half of it. And speaking of which, remember when I was talking about Biggie's lines being incorporated in TV sitcoms? Now, y'all remember the Martin episode when what was that episode? The Mad Dog No Good episode when he was like, there's going to be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing if my burger alarm starts ringing. Y'all know what I'm saying? That's where that line comes from, So Biggie was already touching the sitcoms too, and later, he would star on an episode of Martin, but we're going to get to that briefly, when I finish the album. And also, that was the episode when Gina's friend came into town and she exposed her on Martin's show for being fake and bougie and all that stuff. Martin had a copy of this album in his hand, and from the looks of it, it looked like the plastic was still on it. I'm not sure if that was the case or not, but Martin had the album in his hand during that particular episode. But again, 5 out of 5 for this song. It's a classic, definitely my favorite song from him, and words can't do this song any justice. And man, speaking of words, that brings me to Call a Coroner. There's going to be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing if my burger alarm starts ringing. What y'all think all the guns is for? All-purpose war got the Rockwellers by the door, and I feed them gunpowder so they can devour the criminals trying to drop my decimals. Damn, niggas want to stick me for my cream, and in a dream things ain't always what it seems. It's the ones that smoke blunts with you, see your picture. Now they want to crack the guns and come and get you. Bet your Biggie won't slip. I got the calico with the black tallies loaded in the clip so I can rip through the ligaments. Put the fuckers in the back predicament where all the foul niggas went. Touch my chateau, fill my Beretta, but what I'ma hit you with, your motherfuckers better duck. I bring pain, blood stains on what remains of a jacket. He had his gun, he should have packed it, cocked it, extra clips in my pocket so I can reload and explode down your asshole. I fuck around and get hardcore, C4 to your door, no beef, no more, nigga. Feel the rough, scandalous. The more we smoke, I puff, the more dangerous. I don't give a fuck about you or your weak crew. What you gonna do when Big Papa comes for you? I'm not running, nigga. I bust my gun and hold on and hear somebody coming. Man, I love this song. I love this song. And of course, as y'all know, at the end of the song, 2 cats try to creep up on his crib. They get the red dots and get taken out as a result. Y'all remember. But man, like I said, I love that song. Definitely my favorite song from Biggie. So as we continue on, the 4th straight banger produced by Easy Mo Bee comes in the form of Ready to Die, the title track. Fuck the world, fuck my moms and my girl. My life is played out like the Jerry curl. I'm ready to die, And he outlined in great detail why he was ready to die. Controversial or not, you can't do anything but listen to his words and see why he feels this way. And like I said, still powerful and captivating, 5 out of 5. And I do recall a interview that Valletta Wallace did, Biggie's mom. I believe she's still alive. She said that she actually listened to this album and she was, what did she say? She was appalled by his language and the stuff that he was talking about. And still to this day, I'm actually surprised that his mom actually sat down and listened to this album. I mean, supporting your son is one thing, but I'm not sure if I would even want my mom to listen to my words. I mean, I know it's coming from her son, but still, think about the content here. So, continuing on, we get another banger in the form of The What, featuring Method Man from the Wu-Tang Clan, also making noise in 1994. His debut, Tical, will come out 2 months after Biggie's album. Tical came out on, I believe, November 15th, 1994. And unless I have my dates mixed up, I think Redman's There Is a Dark Side came out a week before or a week after. So the timing is interesting, and like I said, we getting all this dope stuff in real time. Just a great time to be a fan of hip hop, even though I was 9 at the time. Yeah, I was 9 at the time. So all of this was a big deal to me, so it's just taking me back, y'all. So again, we get to this classic, The What, fuck the world, y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't ask me for shit. And everything you get, you got to work hard for it. Honey, shake your hips. You don't stop. And niggas pack your clips. Keep on. Bitch. Verse 2. Coming with that old Hebrew. Met the cow. I mean, putting niggas back in ICU. I mean, sheesh. Love this song, And I'm going to just read this here. I say, is it safe to say that Mo Bee is the star producer on this album? I think so. He's behind some of the best songs on the album, with this track being such a memorable an outstanding collaboration between two of my favorite MCs. And yes, Method Man is in my top 10, spoiler alert. The beat was nice as hell, and Meth and Biggie had such great chemistry on the mic, trying to one up each other in the friendly spirit of competition. It made for a great song. Yes, indeed, 5 out of 5. Classic. And speaking of classic, that brings us to the next one. Juicy. Y'all know this song. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, Salt Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine, hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, Rap Attack, Mr. Magic Molly Mall. I let my tape rock till my tape pop, smoking weed and bamboo, sipping on private stock. Y'all know what it is. I mean, what more can I say about this song? Like I said here, a true classic in every sense of the word. It is one of my favorite videos. I need to revisit it when I can. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I do remember really liking it a lot when I first heard it. The juicy fruit sample. You can't miss that. I mean, it's definitely a great song, and great song. Definitely go back and revisit that when you get a chance. Definitely one of the most memorable and quoted lines in hip hop history. That opening that I mentioned, and much like every song on this album, is filled with quotables and it's so timeless. 5 out of 5, and one of my favorite lines, like most of y'all listening to this, is probably going to be we used to fuss when the landlord list us, no heat, wonder why Christmas missed us. Birthdays was the worst days. Now we sip champagne when we thirsty. I mean, the life I live. I mean, great song, man. I mean, you don't get that level of emotion in songs these days. And if you do get that these days, you're getting it from established artists. You're not getting it from this new wave of artists. Then again, the new rappers today, I wouldn't even call them artists or rappers. Let's just call them entertainers who just happen to rap. I'll say that. So continuing on, man, the classics continue. We get Everyday Struggle, produced by Blues Brothers. I Don't Want to Live No More. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle, another drug to juggle, another day, another struggle. Love this song, almost in the same tone as Things Done Change. Biggie, as descriptive as an artist can get, effectively details the life of the struggle for someone desiring to go from nothing to something. Again, powerful, and possibly my second favorite song on the album. Wow, did I really say that? Man, I can't even begin to tell you what my favorite song on this album is. My second favorite song, that is. It's just, I mean, it's great stuff. 5 out of 5. Next up, we get Me and My Bitch. Quite the popular song, produced by Puff Daddy, Chucky Thompson, and the Blues Brothers. Now I did say that I deduct 5 points for biggest hideous opening line. I didn't quote it there, and I'm not going to quote it here. And if you're listening to this, y'all know that opening line I'm talking about. What the opening lines, y'all know. So easy 5 out of 5 song just turned into a 4.5 out of 5 song on the basis of that alone. And let me just say this too. Now, history has shown that Biggie has made some questionable lyrics, or should I say, said some questionable things in his day. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I'm definitely going to get to that again when we get to the Life After Death album. That doesn't take away from him as an MC, but he said some questionable things. I'll just say that. And the opening lines on Me and My Bitch, that confirms that, so we'll move on. Basically said that when it comes to his lady, Biggie will protect her at all costs, and that's exemplified in this very good song. No question about that. Speaking of very good, that brings us to the Puff Daddy and Chucky Thompson produced Big Papa, which was, a big hit for him, just like Juicy was. And it featured a nice sample of the Isley Brothers, Between the Sheets, and his charisma on the mic is at the forefront on this classic, just like it was in the video. I mean, you saw it. I mean, you couldn't miss it. 5 out of 5 for that one. So again, classic. And I think they still play that on the radio too, along with Juicy. And just jumping ahead a little bit, the biggest songs that they still play on the radio to this day are Big Papa, Juicy, Hypnotize, More Money, More Problems, and the One More Chance remix. They still play those on the radio, if you believe that. So like I said, 5 out of 5 for Big Papa. Next up, we get Respect, produced by Sean Puffy Combs, or Puff Daddy. I still call him Puff Daddy, and Pope from the Trackmasters, one half of the Trackmasters. And he was also behind Juicy as well. Additional vocals from Diana King. Y'all remember the underrated Diana King, with the reggae stuff from this point in the 90s. She did her thing on here. Awesome track. Biggie kills the trunk rattling beat, and Miss King's reggae style hook is the icing on the proverbial bad boy cake. 5 out of 5. Scarface, King of New York, I Want to Be It. Rap was necessary. No, money was necessary. Rap was secondary. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, great stuff here. Next up, we get another Easy Mo B produced banger in the form of Friend of Mine. Now, this one, like I note here, I didn't care too much for it at first when I heard it, but after a while, it grew on me. And of course, I like the lines, which may be controversial today, but no, then again, they wouldn't be controversial today because most new rappers, or should I say, new music entertainers, they would say some lines like this: bitches come, bitches go. That's why I get my nut and I be out the fucking dough. Yeah, that would be controversial in 2024, but I guarantee you dudes will still say it. It may have been meant for laughs, like I said, but he probably meant that, knowing Biggie the way we knew him at the time, he probably meant that line, but again, such a dope song. I like it. It was almost a cool down moment heading into the next track. So, like I said, 5 out of 5 for this one, no question about that. So then we get to another banger, Unbelievable, produced by the legendary DJ Premier, also making noise at this point in 1994 behind the boards. Also one half of Gang Starr with Guru. Rest in peace to Guru. So this song, like I said here, another banger. And Primo unbelievably did one song on this album. Not sure why, but it's okay. Either way, his chemistry with Biggie was undeniable. And like I said, timeless. 5 out of 5. You ready to die? Tell God I said hi and take up some ice for the nicest MC. I mean, it was straight bars through this song. Biggie, aka Big. Get it? Biggie, also known as the Bon Appetit. I mean, Biggie was killing it, man. Sheesh. I'm gonna probably throw this album in after the fact, but but let me continue on, y'all. Like I said, timeless. 5 out of 5. Next up, we get the closing classic, produced by Lord Finesse, also part of the Digging in the Crates crew, also making noise in 1994. Showbiz and AG, they were doing their thing. Fat Joe had released his debut album the year before. Big L was on the scene, so a lot of things were happening. OC had dropped Word Life also in 1994. So, I mean, this was, man, like I said, just a great time to be a hip hop fan, So, what I say about this song is that this is one of the creepier yet brilliant, one of the creepier yet brilliant, chilling yet captivating album closings I've ever heard. In short, according to the song's storyline, Biggie was completely unhappy and just wanted to end his life, and he did. But that would lead us directly to 1997's Life After Death, 5 out of 5. Now, those of you who know that song, y'all know the ending, and there was a time when I thought it was real, almost wondering, okay, how is this guy still alive? But I had to put two and two together, even at a young age, and was like, no, that was for quote unquote entertainment purposes. He didn't unalive himself on a record and it was recorded. No, we wouldn't have saw anything like that 30 years ago. Now today may be another damn story. We may get anything at this point, but back then, no, it wouldn't have been such a thing. That probably would have shut hip hop down, before anything else had something like that took place. So, but yeah, so that right there, it directly or indirectly made you anticipate the next album, and it ended things on a depressing yet captivating note. And like I said, 5 out of 5 for this one. So at the end, I said, wow, just dissecting this album was an event. And you would think with all the positive remarks I've given this album, it should rank higher on my list, my top 10 list, that is. It's all good, though. What more can I say about this album that I haven't mentioned yet? In a word, classic, enough said, 5 stars. Now, in any other aspect, it would be in my top 10, but it's not, you know. Now, the next album we're going to get into is in my top 10, and I think Ready to Die for me is either number 12 or 13. Number 11 is Wu Tang Forever. So I guess right now in real time, I am going to set Ready to Die as number 12, which will put Fuji's the score at number 13, you know. All right. So speaking of the Source magazine, I was able to locate a review of Ready to Die online and put it out. This was written by Shorty, and this was in the October 1994 issue of the Source. So I'm just going to read a few pointers here. Okay, so now they gave this album 4.5 mics. Now later in their 150th issue, they would turn around and give it five mics, which should have gave it all along, but I digress. So Shorty says, while in America that I don't understand words about the immortality of Elvis, the evils of the fur industry, and Oprah's love handles, the quote unquote everyday struggle leaves the rest of us stuck in a world where life's a bitch, cash rules everything around us, and then we die, though not always in that order. Ready to Die, the debut from Brooklyn's own Biggie Smalls, aka the notorious B.I.G., echoes this attitude in full ghetto vision color, showing us that the true American way is to hustle for yours. He shows us both sides of the coin, whether underground in the crack game or legit in the rap game. It's all the same shit. Lots of tricks, egos, beef, gas, jelly, money, sex, etc. Okay. All right. So continuing on. So what other points did Shorty make? He said that after being on the Source's unsigned hype and hidden with party and bullshit off the Who's the Man soundtrack, Biggie's underground reputation is about to blow up nationwide with this summer's Erotic Bomb. All right, let's see. Had some good things to say about the Give Me the Loot song. He just quoted some lyrics, but just pretty much talked about, you know, he couldn't do his flow justice on paper. All right. Continuing on, he says, if you're looking for political correctness, B.I.G. is not the one. He shocks with lines like, then I'm dipping up the block and I'm robbing bitches too. Up the herringbones and bamboos. Okay, yeah. And the other lines, I wouldn't give a fuck if you give me the baby rings and the #1 mom pendant. Yeah, that's Give Me the Loot. So while definitely offensive, Biggie's extremes are still only as messed up as reality. And Pete Big and Method Man's bionic debut, the What for the Ill slogan of the summer. And that goes into the hook that I mentioned. Fuck the world, don't ask me for shit. Yeah, I don't gotta repeat it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He also said the overall package is complete, ridiculous beats, check. Harmonizing honeys, check. Ill sound effects, check. Criminal scenarios, check. And familiar hooks, check. You know. And he talked about M-Tunes beat on Juicy and the I Get Lifted beat on B.I.G.'s Respect. And some of the beats get a little repetitive. He mentioned Me and My Bitch and What You Want. Okay, there's not a song on here called What You Want. So I'm not sure what that was. And he did note that the 2 sex skits were annoying. He said that the graphic depiction of Biggie getting a blowjob could have been kept to himself. But overall, he said that whether the street essence is your reality or whether you just feel like, hold on. No, let me do that again. Whether the street essence is your reality or whether you just like feeling hard enough through someone else's stories, Biggie will captivate you with his machine gun funk. Yeah, you just feel like, hold on, you just like feeling hard through someone else's stories. Okay, all right. Thought there was a typo in there, but it's all good. So yeah, that was Shorty's review of Ready to Die. Like I said, they gave it 4.5 mics at that point, but in their 150th issue, other Source, they went back and gave it 5 mics. Like they did quite a few other albums at the time. So yeah, man, that's Ready to Die. Like I said, classic album, probably, oh man, number 2 after Illmatic in '94, you know, but you know, that's another discussion for another day. We can always talk about that one. But like I said, great album. Now you also notice that I didn't put One More Chance as a highlight. Now, the original version is not bad, but it's not one of the album highlights. And in fact, speaking of that song, we would get the classic remix in 1995. And speaking of 1995, as I've talked about before, that's my favorite year in hip hop history. And Biggie was the man in 95. Y'all hear me? You know, his other singles were still on radio and TV. Ready to Die was still a hot album. But that One More Chance remix, that pretty much gave him mainstream appeal. And it worked like a charm. The song was and still is dope. It's a classic. It's way better than the original. And they also came out with a second hip hop remix that was just as dope. But that original remix, I mean, that remix that we all know, you know, I got that good love, girl. You didn't know? Y'all know what I'm talking about. That was one of the best songs in 1995, you know. And just going back to 1995, just to talk about Biggie a little bit more. So, two things. Of course, those listening to this probably remembers that episode of Martin that he was on. That was a good episode. You know, I need to go back and revisit that too. But yeah, that episode with Biggie, definitely one of the best episodes they did. And I can tell that Biggie was enjoying it too, you know. So that's that part. And then secondly, I remember my last day in the fifth grade at school. My mom, she came and picked me up from school, and I remember going to Young Supermarket, and that issue, that Source issue with Biggie in a mix with the World Trade Center, she bought me that issue. Man, I remember keeping that issue for a long time, and then somewhere along the way, it got lost in the shuffle. You know, imagine that. And you know, and I still wish I would have kept that. And it took me years to finally get my hands on a copy of it, which I finally was able to do. I believe it was last year or earlier this year. I was able to finally locate it with a good deal on eBay, and I finally got it. And y'all should have saw my reaction when I took it out the shipping plastic. Man, I was like, I feel like a 10-year-old. No, I might have had my ages mixed up. I think I said, yeah, earlier I said that I was 9 when I went into the fifth grade. No, I turned 10 in 1994. I turned 11 in 1995. So, you know, bless my heart. You know, pardon that mistake there. You know, I was 10 going into the summer of 1995, and I turned 11 on June 25th, 1995. You know, so let me make that clear. You know, bless my heart, y'all. I'm just hyped for this post. All right. So but yeah, like I said, 95 was biggest year. And that issue, like I said, when I was finally able to get my hands on it, like I said, either late last year or earlier this year, I was a kid all over again. And I'm gonna hold on to it this time because those Source magazines, they collector items now. So you're gonna be paying a good penny for them if you don't locate a good deal, you know. So man. So again, you know, he was doing his thing as 1995 turned into 1996. You know, you had Junior Mafia come on the scene, you know, introducing Lil Kim and Lil C's to the world. You know, with all due respect, I'm not going to talk about the rest of the crew because, you know, they were kind of irrelevant then and they're irrelevant now, at least from a music standpoint, you know. But you know, he did some other guest appearances, most notably Get Money. Y'all remember that joint. Players Anthem, which came out in 95. That was another classic. You know, I mean, he was just the man at this point, basically the man on the East Coast. You know, granted, it was a lot of other talent on the East, but as far as I'm concerned, Biggie was the man, you know. And anybody who came up during that time, y'all remember how it was. You know, I mean, he had the scene locked down. So, you know, when it came to the second album, the anticipation was there. And speaking of that, that's what we're going to go into next. Life After Death. I mean, it's no secret. This is my number 5 favorite album of all time. I love it, you know. And just a few things regarding this album. Like I said, I remember my anticipation for this album was at an all-time high, you know, and even after his death, I still anticipated. And speaking of which, when I'll save his no, I'll go ahead and talk about his death before I get into the album. But like I said, I really anticipated this album. This was I guess you could say probably the album that I anticipated the most, second after Wu-Tang Forever. I'll say that. But no, then again, both of them could jockey for that number one spot because I anticipated both of them equally. And with both of them being double albums, which I'm a sucker for, that made it all the more better. And I remember I bought it from Circuit City. I think either the week it came out or the week after it came out, and I was happy as hell, man. I had I had 20, I had 21 $1 bills waiting for it. And I remember taking pictures with my family. I remember taking pictures with the cash, and I got to get with my aunt to see if she still got that picture of me, that we took at church. Because I remember I had a white shirt on and some khakis. Can't recall the shoes I had on, but I remember that, and I just had the $1 bills in my hand. That was my biggie money, y'all. And one of my cousins, he was behind me in the picture, just cheesing or whatever, making sure to get into other pictures too. But I digress. But like I said, I bought this album either the week it came out or the week after it came out, and I was happy as hell. It was from Circuit City. It was 1999. So with the 21 $1 bills, I had enough money for it. All right. So man, I was happy. And I remember taking it to school, showing everybody. I kept it in the plastic for the longest time, don't ask why. Um, and I didn't listen to it probably until like a few weeks after the fact, And I do got some other stories on this too. So number one of my classmates, he had asked me, look, this guy asked me to borrow the CD, borrow the album, it was two CDs. But he asked me to borrow the album and I still had it in the plastic. Like, man, are you kidding me? And I was like, no, no, we good, And even then, at the age of 12, going on 13, I was not the one to be asking to borrow any music, okay? And at this point, I was just building my CD collection. I was like, no, probably wouldn't even see the album again, And how you going to hear the album before I hear it? Let's get that clear. So, now if he's listening, he know who I'm talking about. But then again, he may not know who I'm referring to, but it's all good. But also my aunt boyfriend at the time, who would later become her husband, they're no longer married. He had the album, and I remember listening to a little bit of it, but I still wanted to wait until I took the plastic off my own. I remember that was an interesting story. Now my dad, he had I don't think he had the tape of it. I don't think he had it dubbed. I think either he had it and he probably took it back to the store, or somebody he knew he had it, but he didn't like it. And now, as I sit here, I don't think he was a fan of Biggie like that, because remember, he gave me the dub tape of Ready to Die, and when it came to Life After Death, he was like, he didn't like it. So I don't think he was a fan of Biggie like that. And also, my dad, I told this story on the channel too. My dad was slowly but surely getting out of hip hop at this time, so he probably wasn't feeling the direct, as compared to how things used to be pre 1997. So that's my only guess. But yeah, man, like I said, this was a heavily anticipated album by me and everybody else, and the fact that he was unalived a few weeks before release, it sad, man. And I also note that the guest appearances on the album were top notch. But as far as I'm concerned, I think one of the main selling points of the album was that list of producers. Let me tell you something. The list of producers that Biggie assembled on this album, and I'm going to get to it when I finally talk about it, it's probably one of the most star-studded lineups of producers ever assembled for one album. Now I'm pretty sure after it may be some albums that challenge this, but as far as this point in 1997, prior to his death, Biggie got like a who's who of the hypest producers on the scene at this time, and they delivered this phase on this album. And we're going to get to it. And they create a cinematic journey to fit Biggie's descriptive and powerful narratives, and that's my description of it, Yeah. So one last thing. So getting back to his death, I remember being at home and my aunt, she called me. She did the same thing when Tupac was unalive. She called and she was like, "You heard what happened to Biggie?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "They, I'm paraphrasing. She was like, they, we didn't say unalive back there, but I'm gonna say it now. They unalived him. He was in L.A. Doing some stuff. He died. They took him out, and I was like, wow. I could not believe it. In just a few months, 6 months after Tupac, it was unreal, man. You know, definitely, a hard pill for hip hop to swallow. And like I said at the beginning, you know, it's never been the same. It ain't been the same since. It's not gonna be the same. So, man. So with all that historical perspective in here, let's go ahead and finally get to Life After Death, Biggie's second album, released on March 25th, 1997. All right. So after the intro, uh, we were supposed to rule the world, baby. We was unstoppable. Can't be over, man. I mean, I love that intro too. So the intro takes us right into the highlights, and the first highlight of the album, Somebody's Gotta Die, produced by Puff Daddy, Carlos July 6 Brody, and Nasheem Marek, also known as the Hitmen. They were behind some hits. All right, so let me read this verbatim. I said creative and again powerful. This one song is perhaps the best form of storytelling I've ever heard. As you hear Biggie rapping over the nice beat, everything he's describing, you hear in full detail in the background. You must listen to this song with a good pair of earphones/headphones to get the full effect. The ending may be a bit much for some, but make no mistake about it. This is hip hop storytelling at its finest. 5 out of 5. And again, I love this song. When I first heard it, I was captivated by it. I mean, definitely a great song. And again, it must be heard to be appreciated. You got to listen to this one with, a good pair of earphones or headphones or earbuds or whatever to get the full effect. And you'll even get another effect if you listen to it at night. I mean, great stuff here. Speaking of great stuff, that takes us to the next classic. Y'all know Hypnotize, and like I said earlier, they still play this song on the radio. This was produced by 3 members of the Hitmen, Puff Daddy, Eric D. Angeletti, and Ron Amon Ra Lawrence. Small fact I put right here, although I don't think she was ever credited, the lovely voice on the hook is Pam, a former Bad Boy Trio Total. She did a good job, much like Biggie did on this one. He was having fun when he made this song, and it's indeed a classic. Just like he had fun doing the video as well, and there's a lot of memorable quotes in this song. I won't list them here because I'll mess around and sing the entire song, which I'm not going to do here. But like I said, definitely a classic. If you throw it on at a party or something like that, you're going to hit the dance floor. I mean, great stuff. Great stuff. Speaking of great stuff, that takes us to the first of 2 DJ Premier produced bangers on this album. This one in the form of Kicking the Door. Biggie delivered lyrical gems on this one. Your reign on the top with short leprechauns as I crush so-called Willie's thugs and rapadons. And those lines could be interpreted as subliminal shots at Nas and Raekwon, which is another story. And I talked about that during my Nas video as well. So, be sure to check that out if you haven't done so already. But again, 5 out of 5 for this classic. Kick in the door, wave in the 4-4. All you heard was Papa, don't hit me no more. Y'all know what it is, So, yeah, classic. Speaking of classic, that takes us to the next one, Last Day, featuring the Lox, produced by Puff Daddy, Havoc from Mobb Deep, and Stevie J. I'm telling you, man, Stevie J. I think I note this in my comments here, but Stevie J, even though in recent years that guy has made a spectacle of himself, specifically when he was on those reality shows and all that, that guy can produce. He can make some hits. He was behind some hits, and I don't know why he turned out the way that he did, but that's another story. But be that as may. So I know that I love this one right here. All 4 Man bless this nice track. You can tell that Data, Styles P, and Sheek that was so inspired to be on the same song with Biggie. I guarantee you they still have memories of that session too. Great stuff here. 5 out of 5. We get another 5 out of 5 classic. This time, another Easy Mo Bee produced song, I Love the Dough, featuring Jay-Z and Angela Winbush. I know here that Moby effectively sampled Renee Moore and Angela Winbush's I Love You More to great results. This is the second and unfortunately last collaboration between Biggie and Jay-Z. And again, you could just listen to the song and tell they're just having the time of their lives being in each other's presence on the mic. 5 out of 5. And this was the song when Jay-Z said, he will later turn this into a hook for his Watch Me song. Jay-Z said, place yourself in the shoes of true fellas and tell me you won't ball every chance you get, and every chance you get, you live for the moment. Make sense, don't it? Now make dollars. That's where that comes from. Boning chicks that favor dollars. Rack up frequent fowler money. Classic, man. Sheesh. Speaking of classics, we get to the next one, produced by Carlos. July 6th, Brody and Nasheem Merrick, Once Beef. Love this song. Powerful. Biggie perfectly details what beef is and why it's pointless. And most of today's artists could benefit from listening to a song like this. It must be heard to be appreciated, except for the 2 bars in the first verse. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I won't repeat them here, and I definitely didn't know them on here as well. Y'all know the 2 bars in the first verse I'm talking about. You know, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and revisit it. Y'all will know when y'all hear it. Now, it's all subjective because if you remember doing the Ready to Die album, I took off points in that song, but I couldn't do the same in this one because this song was just too strong. It's a way stronger song than Me and My Bitch, you know. So, you know, I had to be a little bit more subjective in this one, but this one, no question, a 5 out of 5. And shout out to Royce the 5'9" because he did his own version of What's Beef a few years back. I think in 2003, 2004, something like that. If y'all remember the Beef 2 DVD, that song was playing in that documentary. So then we get to the next classic, More Money, More Problems, featuring Puff Daddy, Mase, and Kelly Price. I don't think Kelly Price was credited for her vocals, but that's another story. And check this out, produced by Puff Daddy and Stevie J. I'm telling you, Stevie J may be a little bit underrated in his own right, you know. So right here, I know this song, like a lot of others, instantly takes me back to 97, and I can't forget how popular this song was. Unfortunately, Biggie wasn't alive to see the success of it, and this album, for that matter. And that one thing, the more problems we come across, the more problems we see, is one of the most profound statements ever made. I think the song itself still holds up today. It sure does. 5 out of 5. And again, if you throw it on at a party, you're gonna get the dance floor packed. You know, no question about that. You know, BIGPOPPA, no info for the DEA. I mean, great stuff. You know, great stuff. Classic. Then the great stuff continues with Niggas Bleed, produced by Puff, Stevie J, Carlos, and Sheen. And again, I know here, don't let that Stevie J name fool you. Although he's made a complete spectacle of himself on that Love and Hip Hop reality show, the man was behind some hits. Now, at this point, when I initially did this, I was watching Love and Hip Hop with my lady at the time, you know, ex-lady. So, you know, he was making a spectacle of himself then, and I think he's still doing it now, but that's a different story. So I note that this is another excellent song showcasing Biggie's captivating storytelling abilities, and I thought this beat was simply amazing at the time. Yes, and quite frankly, I still do, you know. But again, it's a great song. And I remember there was an issue of Vibe magazine that did an article where they had the entire song, like all of the lyrics printed out, you know, on that one article. You know, I had that issue. Can't recall what happened to it though. So you know, great storytelling there, great song. It does end on a hilarious note, but it doesn't take away from the song. I mean, the song is great, you know. So speaking of great, that brings us to the song that closes the first disc. I got Storytale, produced by Puff, Buck Wild, and Chucky Thompson. We close out the phenomenal first disc with another storytelling showcase by Biggie, featuring the first 2.5 minutes dedicated to his story, and the final minutes are devoted to Biggie telling the story all over again, this time to his crew. It's hilarious. 5 out of 5. Definitely like this song, you know, no question about that. So we get the one low light on this one, and what else would it be other than Fucking You Tonight? I never cared for the song, and there's nothing against Biggie. I'm just not a fan of R. Kelly. Now, I I still skip this song to this day. You know, I have no use for this song. The beat was good and Biggie's verses were good, but outside that, they really could have left that off this first disc. I guess he had to get R. Kelly on a song, but you didn't have to. I mean, Be Happy for R. Kelly's album that also came out in 95. That was a much better song than this one, you know. And I think most people skip that song too. The ladies might like it, which is probably the point, you know. The ladies like it, the fellas didn't, you know. So, all right. We get to the highlights on this too. We get the opening, Notorious Thugs featuring Bone Thugs and Harmony, produced by Puffy and Stevie J. There you go again, you know. And this song, it really did highlight Biggie's talents. He was able to switch up his flow. I know here the second disc gets off to a very memorable start as we get the exceptionally great collaboration with Bone and Biggie. Crazy Busy and Lazy Bone all delivered very good verses, but the star of this song was undoubtedly Biggie. He took, not Jack, Bone style, effectively turned it into his own and created hip hop magic. 5 out of 5. Yeah. And I remember a few of my classmates at the time really liking that song. I mean, it is dope, you know. It's Bone and Biggie. I mean, great song, you know. And also speaking of Bone Thugs and Harmony, they did a song with Tupac probably before he passed, and that was on their album Art of War, another double album which also came out in 1997. And I believe the name of that song was Thug Love, you know, with the gunshots and all that. Probably one of the best songs on that double CD. But yeah, Bone were one of the few artists or groups in this case to do a song with both Pop and Biggie before they passed. You know, that's interesting. But like I said, definitely a great song and a great way to start the second disc. All right, we can breeze through the rest of the highlights here. Miss You featuring 112, produced by KG, Anointed by Nature. This is a heartfelt dedication from Biggie to the ones he lost over the years. I was surprised that this one didn't make its way to the radio, but it's all good. Yeah, that is interesting because it was tailor-made for the radio, and I give it a 5 out of 5. Now, this is another song that I had to take my time with because I did skip it a lot back in the day, but after a while it grew on me. You know, it's a real good song. And speaking of real good songs, that takes us to Going Back to Cali, another one produced by Easy Mo B. And that title song here, even when the silly East Coast, West Coast beef was reaching its peak, Biggie had love for the West Coast and is clearing this song. 5 out of 5. Then we get to another 5 out of 5 classic, the DJ Premier produced classic. The second of his 2 songs that he produced, 10 Crack Commandments. I noted the controversial nature of this song certainly didn't please the legendary Chuck D, but in a hip hop form, it was well done, step by step. Or should I say, a well done step by step booklet for you to get your game on track, not your wig pushed back. Amen. You know, definitely a great song. Fast paced, but a great song. All right. Next up, we get another highlight, Sky's the Limit, featuring 112, produced by Clark Kent. Now, I do know here that it was one of the more underrated songs on the album. I don't think they play this song on the radio. I like this one a lot and its theme. The sky's the limit. You can have what you want, be what you want. You know, the sky's the limit when your heart said, you know, so inspiring. 5 out of 5. And I remember interestingly enough, the guy who tried to get me to let him borrow the CD, the album, when I ain't even take the plastic off it yet, he really liked that song. You know, he really likes it. You know, I'm pretty sure he's still there. As a matter of fact, I may reach out to him on Facebook and ask him about that, but we'll see. So the highlights continue with the next 3 bangers. My Downfall featuring DMC from Run DMC, produced by Puff, Carlos, and Machine. Simply Amazing describes this in the next 2 songs. Continuously effective, Biggie details the days he feels he would cause his downfall, and it's sort of eerie at the same time, especially lines like, dying ain't the shit, but it's pleasant, kind of quiet. That shit chills up my spine when I first heard it, and quite frankly, it still does. 5 out of 5. I mean, that song is an epic, the way that I see it. I mean, such a great song. You know, all DMC had to do was the hook, and that was it. He didn't need to drop a verse. You know, powerful song. Next up, we get Long Kiss Goodnight, produced by the RZA from Wu-Tang. Like I said, this production lineup is simply incredible. You know, and like I said, Put it in the comments. What album then and now would give Life After Death a run for its money in terms of the lineup of producers? Let me know what y'all think. Okay, so I note here this is another favorite of mine, home to one of my favorite subliminal lines of all time, and it was clear who this was aimed at. When my men bust, you just move with such stamina. Slugs Mischief, I ain't mad at you. We ain't mad at you. Y'all know who that was aimed at, and I know it here. It was the first and last time Biggie would collaborate with RZA. I can imagine what things would have been like had Biggie had the chance to work with RZA more. Such an incredible song. Yes, indeed. Man, imagine Biggie and Meth on a RZA track. It would have been great. Or hell, even Biggie and Ghostface on no. Imagine Biggie and Ghostface either on a RZA track or a DJ Premier track at this point. Magic. All right, so that takes us to the closing. Nobody Till Somebody Kills You, produced by Puff and Stevie J. This is one of the most eerie album closes I've ever heard. The notion that you're nobody till somebody kills you is commonly accepted for the most part, and this song paints that very chilling picture. Yeah, it is eerie. I mean, but it's a 5 out of 5, though. No question about that. And we get to the low points from this too, which is Another featuring Lil Kim. Most would say this song could have been better considering it's the only real true Biggie and Kim collaboration, but what we got was strictly for laughs. If you ask me, we can throw Get Money in this mix too. Biggie knew he couldn't sing. Now the difference here is that Get Money, you can look at that as a Kim and Biggie collaboration, even though it was listed as either Junior Mafia or Junior Mafia featuring Biggie. So, but I guess you could say history has judged that song to be a Biggie and Kim collaboration, But Get Money is a classic, especially the original version. Was there a remix? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was a remix. Yeah, I haven't heard the remix in a long time. And I think they used the what's that song? Don't Look Any Further. I can't recall the name of the guy who sings it off the top of my head, but I think they used the interpolation of that beat. Yeah, that was a remix, but the original was better. And then we get the other low point, Player Hater, produced by Stevie J and Puffy. I didn't even need to include the features and the production for the highlights, but it's all good. I didn't take the song seriously, mostly because when you listen to it, it was done strictly for laughs. Pretty much an extended interlude, but it was listed as a song, So those were the low points here. Now, I didn't mention Nasty Boy. Nasty Boy is a great song, but it's not one of the album highlights. The World is Filled with Puff Daddy and Too Short. That was a good song. That also has the line, when the rim is in the system, ain't no telling will I fuck them, will I diss them. That's where they get that line from for I just want to love you, give it to me. Yeah, bigging up his brother. So I note that this excellent album still holds up today, of course, and I still like it as much as I did in 1997, if not more. I respectfully disagree with the opinion that this album would have been better as a single disc, as this album more than justified its length. This album is as classic as they come, and bringing Ready to Die back into the mix. Songs like Juicy, Big Papa, One More Chance Remix, Hypnotize, and More Money, More Problems still receive radio play to this day, deservedly so. We're going to hear this music forever, even after you and I are gone. And for the final part of this project, I just want to say again that Biggie's legacy will always live on and it will not be forgotten. 5 stars. All right, so before I close, let me go ahead and reference the review that Michael A. Gonzalez did of this album in the Source magazine, which was the May 1997 issue. And this was, I think this was an emergency issue because they already had an issue with Biggie on the front prior to this. And Scarface was like on the inner cover as well. So they pretty much, I don't want to say they rushed it out, but they came out with that issue with Biggie on the front. Then Now What issue, they came out with that like in no time, So all right, let's see. Let's see. What did Mr. Gonzalez say here? I'm gonna skip to it. All right, let's see. Um, okay. Um, Let me start right here. Mr. Gonzalez said, "Now in 1997, 6 months after the unaliving of Tupac Shakur, I can still feel the chill I got when I sat down and listened to Biggie's second opus, Life After Death, To Death Do Us Part. Moments after putting the advanced tape in my stereo, my girlfriend opened the door and said Biggie was unalived in Cali, and my eyes swelled. I silently listened to an album that will undoubtedly become a classic to any true hip hop fan." And by the way, they did give this 5 mics. Some people took issue with that. I didn't. Now the question remains: had Biggie not passed, would they have gave this 5 mics? I believe they would have, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they gave it 5 mics and a half, as well as giving it 5 mics down the line either. All right. So they say chillingly opening with a dramatic scene of Biggie laying dead in a hospital room as signs blare in the distance and sad piano chords drift like a ghost over his body. A sorrowful voice, Puffy, says, "We were supposed to rule the world, baby. Shit can't be over. Shit can't be over." And as a flatlining sound is heard, in comes the weird soundscape of the Somebody's Gotta Die, a track that resembles a scene from an unmade blaxploitation film about crooked gangsters trading shots in the projects. However, despite these suspenseful moments, this album makes a clear distinction from its predecessor. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Unlike the cult of violence that seemed almost naturalistic on Ready to Die, the realm of gangster aesthetics on Life After Death seems more cinematic fantasy than real life adventures in the hood. That's a good point. On the DJ Premier produced Kick in the Door, which loops Screaming Jay Hawkins, Biggie is busting down doors and waving his 4-4 like some kind of urban vigilante. Meanwhile, on What's Beef, which uses jungle influences in its grooves, Biggie moans, "Beef is when you need two gas to go to sleep. Beef is when your moms ain't safe up in the streets. Beef is when I see you. Guaranteed to be in ICU." And I'm through. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like he wanted to rise above his own personal chaos. All right. He continues on exploring his desires to reach superstar status. He was already a superstar at this point. Big's employment of fellow big name artists leads to some stunning results. R. Kelly adds his dirty vocal touches on Fucking You Tonight. Okay, that song is not stunning. Okay, it wasn't stunning then, it's not stunning today. Puff and Big exchange playerisms with Too Short on The World Is Field, and the mayor of St. James holds his own with Cleveland, Ohio's Bone Thugs and Harmony on Notorious Thugs. That ambitious track alone reveals Smalls' diversity as an MC and his desire to be viewed as the greatest in his field. True points. Still, despite inspired raw hip hop diatribes like the RZA constructed Long Kiss Goodnight and Primo's powerful 10 Crack Commandments, Life After Death's finest moments are the instantly catchy future radio favorites. While the slick as a can of oil first single, Hypnotize, and the Renee and Angela inspired I Love the Dope featuring Jay-Z are both banging. It's the remake of Diana Ross's I'm Coming Out More Money featuring the sleepy voice Mace and Boss Man Puff Daddy that swings the hardest with pure bad boy flavor. Now, I would assume that the advanced copy of this album did list I'm Coming Out More Money as the actual song because there was a DJ Clue mixtape, I believe, Show Me the Money, where he also called this song I'm Coming Out, but they would later retitle it creatively as More Money, More Problems. And thankfully they did. All right. And at the end, he says, although Biggie probably never intended for the hit fueled Life After Death to be his swan song as an artist, one can't help but view songs like the Carefree, Going Back to Cali, a parody of the Death Row sound. I wouldn't call it a parody. And the haunting closing track, You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You, as yet another definition of tragic irony. Unfortunately, like Tupac before him, Big's potent verses of a violent death became a self prophecy indeed. Wow. Some great review there. So yeah, man, that was the Source Magazine's review of Life After Death. So last but not least, the Born Again album. The Born Again album came out in 1999. I remember being real hyped for it. I don't know why I went into that album thinking it was going to be a triple CD. I was kind of silly at the time, but um, it was okay. I mean, a Posthumous album, with some Biggie vocals and stuff like that, along with some guest appearances and things like that. It was good, but it wasn't on the level, obviously, of Ready to Die and Life After Death. But I appreciate what they went for, and the highlights on that album off the top of my head, Dead Wrong with Eminem, Notorious, um, Come On with Sadat X, and what was the song with Redman and Method Man? What was the name of that song? Oh my goodness. Um, Not Dangerous MCs. Um, Rap Phenomenon. That's the name of it. Yep. So those were the highlights as far as I'm concerned. But other than that, it's okay. I don't have the album in my collection, if you believe it or not. And hell, after this, I might go on eBay to see if I can find it for a decent price just to add to my collection. I might do that. But I mean, it was okay, as far as Hoffman's work was. And then, of course, after that, there was some other, there was a duets album and other things like that, basically to, keep his legacy alive, but also capitalize on it at the same time, So that's what we got, after the fact. So, my final words on this man, like I said, from 1994 to 1997, that man did his thing. And the fact that most people would consider him the greatest of all time, even though his reign was real short, and in an ironic twist, on Kicking the Door, he said your reign on the top was short than leprechauns. And as it turns out, his reign on the top was short, but not through any fault of his own, But man, he's my number 4 favorite MC of all time. I have fond memories of him. I remember always being hyped when his videos came on. I get hyped when I listen to both of those albums. I get hyped when I talk about him, and just the impact that he had in such a short time is nothing short of incredible. And his music will always stand the test of time. Like I said, those songs, Hypnotize, More Money, More Problems, Juicy, the One More Chance remix, and Big Papa, they're going to always have a place on the radio. No question about that. So, man, he's still missed. He going to always be missed. Even taking some of the questionable things that he said along the way, taking that out of the equation, that man left his mark. And I don't think we're ever going to see a run like that in which an artist, an MC did so much in such short period of time. Like I said, think about that. From 1994, which is when his run really started, all the way up until March 9th, 1997. The guest appearances, the music. I mean, we're all going to be listening to this for years to come, man. Timeless material. So with all that being said, Biggie, rest in peace. You left your mark on hip hop. Things have not been the same since you've been gone. Things haven't been the same since Tupac been gone. And quite frankly, things are never going to be the same. And all these years after the loss of those two brothers, we still feel it. We may not feel it like that, but we're still feeling it, And I still sure that where hip hop would be if Pac and Biggie was still here. I'm always going to have those thoughts. So like I said, B.I.G., Christopher Wallace, rest in peace to you. We're never going to forget the mark that you left. We're always going to cherish your music. It's always going to remain timeless. And like I always say, good things never get old. So with all that being said, John, we've come to the end of this session. Stay tuned for the next session. And, it's no secret. The next Top 10 MC session is going to be Ghostface Killah. So stay tuned for that one. So if you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button. And also let me know your thoughts on Biggie. Let me know Ready to Die and Life After Death ranks with you. What's your favorite song from him? What's his most underrated song? What did you think of Born Again? Just let me know what you think overall. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves and remember the power of the mind is valuable. Rest in peace, Biggie. Rest in peace.